It's an honor to have one of my favorite trombonists, Alan Kaplan. He's going to share some little gems of wisdom. Get started with talking a little bit about mutes.
Okay. Yeah, one thing that I've always felt about, there's a lot that people don't know about mutes. They buy them and they put it in and they use it, but they don't really learn them, and there's a lot to be learned about mutes. Where they tune, how to correct for possible bad notes or search for them if they have them. And also, most importantly, you get into studios and it never fails. You're switching mutes right when there's like dead silence going on in the room. And you have to know how to put in or take out a mute quietly. And man, that's one of the biggest challenges. And people who aren't prepared for that in the studios get in a lot of trouble because they will have to do a take over and over again if they hear that noise.
Hello and welcome to the 22nd episode of Bone Masters, where we get to meet living trombone legends, hear them play, have master classes, and talk about music. This week we feature the wonderfully talented Alan Kaplan in his second appearance ever on Bone Masters.
So there are tricks to learning how to correct that. Number one, what you need on all of your mutes is some kind of rubber around the top. We used to use bicycle inner tubes. We'd cut little pieces of it and just slip it on. That works great. You know, any bicycle. This is a felt tape.
Yeah.
Which came with it. And on these two mutes, I used Plastidip because they were too small to put the bicycle inner tube pieces on.
Okay.
But that cushions it because it's real easy to clank. You hear that sound, but with the rubber, see that?
Yeah.
And that's the difference between a blown take or not.
You know, I've never even thought about that, and it seems like common sense.
It's total common sense. You don't think about it when you're playing. You're playing in a big band, or you're playing, in a loud group or a live situation even. But in the studios, it's very transparent, and that little noise, and it's even more difficult on a bass trombone because the mutes are bigger. But same thing. I don't have my bass trombone mutes here, but same thing. It's vital. Here's the bicycle inner tube I was talking about. Right there.
You just get it in any hardware store, or you just take it from?
Go to a bike store, or go to any place that sells bikes. It sells inner tubes.
Okay.
And you just cut it up into little pieces. I've got a lifetime supply at home because I used to use them all the time. But since I've changed mutes.
You're right, on a recording session, that could screw up the whole thing.
Oh yeah, that's all it takes, especially with these, quiet TV movie dates and things like that.
Yeah.
And invariably, they like you muted because it's a quiet cue, number one. So there's not much noise going on. Then the next thing is you're changing mutes, and it's a couple of bars that basically empty.
Yeah.
There's something going on, but it's so quiet that anything that happens in the room is noticeable. So there's that. The other thing is the cork noise. Okay, now let's see. Okay, these are well greased, but let me see if this one often is squeaky. Well, I'm pretty good at keeping them greased. Let's see if these are. Something like that, you might hear taking out your mutes. So, great thing to do, and mine are already kind of prepped, and I'll show you the very, very scientific way to get these corks so that they don't squeak.
Okay.
A little forehead grease.
Very scientific.
I kid you not. This is something that I learned when I first got in the studios back in the 70s. I was working with Dick Nash, Lloyd Elliott, Dick Knoll, Joe Howard, and this is what they were doing. I said, really? They said, really? They're the ones that told me about the inner tube, and they're the ones that showed me this. Because sure enough, first things we did, there I am with my brand spanking new mutes, and they're squeaking and clanking.
Yeah.
And they showed me what to do.
Oh my gosh.
See that? Quiet. The other thing, what I would recommend, taking out a mute, if you've got several bars to do it, and there's maybe the first couple bars are quiet, nothing going on, and then some instruments come in the next two, wait for the instruments to come in, and then pull it out. It'll cover up whatever sound you might make. And another thing, if you can. Now with bass trombone it's hard to do, but what I like to do to avoid the noise is I actually hold the mute loosely,
Yeah.
and I play with my hand on the bell like that.
Okay.
Quieter and faster. So if you can, sometimes you can't, sometimes, you know. And if it is in tightly, what I try to do, rather than twist it out, which can make noise, now it didn't there because I had it prepped, rock it out, like that.
I see.
Just by rocking it a little bit, you get it loose and it doesn't cause as much of that friction that can squeak. Because you don't know. You think you've got it, you think you've got it greased, but just to be safe.
Just to be safe, yeah.
Because you don't want to blow a take. It's really...
I always get scared too when the mute's in there and my hand's not, reinforcing it. I'm scared maybe it will fall out.
Well,
I
there's
always have that fear.
That's why if you're not going to have it in loose and hold it with your hand, you want it in tightly. I get that. Especially a heavy one like a bucket or a Harman. But
Yeah.
if it's in tightly, that's when you have your best chances of it making noise taking it out. So rock it out a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And also wait. If you have time, sometimes you got to get it out. You got 2 bars to get it out, and that's all you can do. You got to do it when you have to do it. But if you have an option of waiting a little bit, wait till there's more sound. Like if I know that, the French horns are coming in the 4th bar, I'll just wait, and then I'll take it out. Just
Fascinating.
little stuff you learn along the way. These
Yeah.
are things that are not in any books.
No one ever talks about this.
No.
It's like mute technique. It's a whole
No.
other aspect.
No, exactly. People don't talk about it, and it's a difference between blowing takes. You want to have your first studio session and be blowing takes
Yeah.
because
You
of
get
mute
called
noise.
back then.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that. So that's stuff that everybody should be aware of. Then we have like other mutes. Sometimes they call for it. They used to call it felt hat. Sometimes it's not called for, but you'll be playing and you'll be playing as softly as you can. Your attack is as quiet, but it's still too much. So this is a 99-cent ski hat.
Oh, wow.
Just takes
Okay.
a little bit, it muffles it just a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's still got the nice full body tone, but it's just down a little bit.
It just
Yeah.
takes a little bit of it off.
That's cool.
Again, it's about getting the job done. So I sometimes, when they really want it quieter, but they don't want to mute it. See, it doesn't give it a mute sound. It just quiets it.
Oh, cool.
I like to aim off mic sometimes when possible, but sometimes you don't have that option.
Uh-huh.
But this is always good. And,
Right.
and I used to do a show called Remington Steele, and Graham Young was the first trumpet player on the show. And they wanted this really quiet trumpet sound, and he did something I never saw before. He had a Giardinelli trumpet gig bag, a vinyl gig bag.
Yeah.
He played with the horn in the gig bag, unzipped. The gig bag, the bell was in the gig bag, and he played. It was the coolest sound ever. Distant, muffled, but not muted.
Nice.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
Whatever works, yeah. So that's the thing. The other thing I want to talk about, this is my money mute. All through the 90s, I was doing a ton of cartoons for Warner Brothers, Disney,
Uh-huh.
even DreamWorks and MGM. And the Harman solo was the big deal. So,
I love that sound.
oh, it's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best. And we can refer to, I wrote a little thing called The Art of Wah that was in the ITA Journal. And it's on my music page.
Okay, we'll check that out.
Yeah,
What's the address to get to that?
It's Alan Kaplan music page on Facebook.
Okay, awesome.
And it's one of the posts that says The Art of Wah goes digital.
Okay.
But anyway, I talk all about the mutes, and I made it kind of
Well,
unique.
yeah, we'll check that out
Yeah.
for sure.
So I wrote it back when we were doing all the cartoons. I realized a lot of these techniques weren't being talked about and taught. The other thing I want to show, that's a traditional Harman sound. But what people don't do very often, you see trumpet players doing it all the time, taking stem out.
Yeah.
Trombone players don't do it too much, because here's what happens when you take the stem out of a trombone. And this is this is the Joe Rowell. This is better than the old Harman brand ones. It's a better sounding mute. But in any case, they all do this. They don't center. They don't center. So a lot of trombone players say, "Oh, you can't use these mutes, so you have to have the stem in." I used to see trombone players with the stem in, while the trumpets were doing stem out. It's not a blend.
Yeah.
But what you can do is cover.
Oh, wow. everybody, my dear friends of the world. Paul the trombonist here. Thank you, Alan. We're never going to look at mutes the same in a good way. So you're going to want to check out alankaplan.org. That's his site, has everything you need to check out with him. You're going to want to check out his album Lonely Town and Hoyt's Garage, some of the finest trombone playing I've ever heard in my entire life. The next guest we're going to have is Steve Armour, and you're not going to want to miss him. He's like the John Coltrane of the trombone. The stuff that he pulls off is ridiculous. Okay? You're going to want to check it out. When he talks all about these concepts that are just so life-changing. Be sure to check out the Bone Masters page on Facebook. It's facebook.com/BoneMastersTV. So all the updates, when I'm filming people, it has everything you need to know to keep you in the loop with the good old Bone Masters television show on the internet. Then we have the Paul the Trombonist fans on Facebook. That page right there is a whole nother world. So we got these worlds going at the same time, and I'd like to have you be a part of them because you are my dear friends and I love you so much. I'd like to thank you all for watching. I'd like to also thank BAC Music and the patrons that are really cool people, okay? And their names are going up and down too at the end of these things. So we have good times here. It's what we're doing. We have good times, and looking forward to more good times, all right? So remember, wait, that's not my job. Timothy Tim's back in town. So Timothy, what do we say around this time?
How do astronomers organize a party? They plan it. Planet? Now remember, you can tune a piano, but you cannot tune a fish.